Hello and welcome to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar. In this video we'll be answering the question, where should a comma go amongst adjectives? It's an important question because when a number of adjectives change a noun to exactly the same equal degree, they are called coordinate adjectives and they should be separated by commas. That's because when we're using a lot of adjectives, it's as if we're listing and describing. So we should separate each individual adjective, but only if the sentence would make sense if we switched the order of the adjectives. That's what we mean by coordinating adjectives. They're coordinated because the sentence makes exactly the same sort of sense when I change the order of that adjective. Let me demonstrate. The lovely, little squirrel was eating a hazelnut is actually incorrect. Because if I switched it around and said, the little, lovely squirrel was eating a hazelnut, it wouldn't make grammatical sense. So instead, I need to take away the comma because lovely and little are not coordinating adjectives. So the sentence should be, the lovely little squirrel was eating a hazelnut. Let's take another example. That girl is a ridiculous, hilarious and self-obsessed clown. Rather, that girl is a hilarious, ridiculous and self-obsessed clown. What you notice is that each of these words is equally weighted. So if I switch it around and consider these as coordinated adjectives, each of those words that's an adjective could be switched in its order, much like how I initially read it. Let's take the correct version. That girl is a hilarious, ridiculous and self-obsessed clown. It's not a particularly nice thing to say, but it's important to identify that in our second example, the adjectives in that description, hilarious, ridiculous and self-obsessed, are coordinating. Now it's your turn. For each of the 5 sentences, I want you to identify if the commas have been used appropriately. Remember that if the sentence contains coordinated adjectives, that means that if you switched the order of the adjectives, the sentence would have the same meaning, then you should be using a comma. But if not, you must not use a comma. Hit pause if you need thinking time. So, how did you get on? The child is incredibly talented, kind, and intelligent. That sentence makes sense. I am listing the qualities of this talented, kind, and intelligent child. Equally, if I switch it round, that child is incredibly kind, talented, and intelligent. That is also correct. And it's appropriate to use the comma because each of those adjectives, whether it's kind, talented, or intelligent, is coordinated. It means it has the same value in the sentence. Let's take the next one. That child is incredibly intelligent, kind, and talented. Now, I would argue that that sentence is incorrect. That is because we do need a comma to break this up. It should instead read, that child is incredibly intelligent, kind, and talented. So the initial sentence in blue is incorrect because we should be separating each coordinating adjective to separate each quality listed within the sentence. You'll notice that sentences 1, 2 and 3 contain the same adjectives but changing order. But the only difference with number 3 in blue is that no comma makes it really unclear for us that each of those qualities or adjectives are coordinated. Hence why we need there to be an adjective that has a comma after it, after the first one is listed, as we can see in the example in green. The next one's great. The sweet, sugary taste of hot cocoa was delicious. I can imagine. And that sentence is correct. And if we spin sweet and sugary round, as you'll see with example number 5, we understand why we need the comma there. Because it's coordinated. The sugary, sweet taste of hot cocoa was delicious. So the 2 takeaways from this video are that coordinated adjectives have their own license to have a comma between them. That's if the value of each adjective is the same. And that means that if you switched the adjective that's coordinated round in the sentence, if there's more than one adjective in the sentence, obviously, it would still make the same amount of sense. It would make clear sense. But you don't ever put a comma to split up adjectives if they don't have the same actual impact on the sentence. If the sentence wouldn't make sense when you switch those adjectives around, we mustn't put a comma because we're splitting up the clarity of our message and confusing our reader or even ourselves as we read back. Why not subscribe to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar for all things English, literary and grammatical?